Welcome to Define Your Path with DocV, bringing you real talk with global thought leaders to inspire hearts and minds for sustainable breakthroughs and profitability for your life and business. Here's your host, DocV.
Hi, I'm Dr. Virginia LeBlanc, also known as DocV, the Pivot Maestro. Welcome to the Define Your Path podcast for those seeking to define their own path into purposed entrepreneurship. This is a show about transforming perspectives as well as inspiring and motivating you to think without a box by exposing you to global thought leaders, change agents, and legacy builders across industries on how they successfully define their path in life and business to profitability and sustainable wins. At Defining Paths, we operate in truth, transparency, and love to help you navigate the waters of your life and put you back in business. And the Define Your Path podcast is no different. It all starts in the mind, folks, with your mindset. Will you be the captain or the crew? Today's spotlight, I'm so excited to introduce you to an inspirational woman, Jackie Cote. Jackie, let me tell you a little bit about Jackie. She's a freedom coach who serves hyper-driven, successful women who already have money and success, but don't have a life they love. Anybody's toes yet? After working with Jackie, they learn how to awaken, empower, and own the leader within so they can create the life they truly desire of freedom, adventure, and love, and fit the money and success into that life. Not the other way around, folks, not the other way around, like we have always been taught. Jackie is a Jersey girl at heart who is now living out her dream of freedom and adventure by traveling the country in an RV with her man and two pups. She meets virtual friends and changes lives on her own terms. After 30 years in leadership management in the restaurant industry, she has mastered the ability to help people see what they cannot see, hold the gift of belief for them, believe they can do more than they ever thought they could, and take the inspired action to make it happen. Jackie, welcome to the show. I already feel a sister from another mister vibe going.
I love it. Doc V, I'm just going to bring you with me and have you just say my bio everywhere I go. Because I was inspired by my bio through you. I love it. I was like, oh, her voice is amazing. So thank you for having me here. And I'm just so inspired by everything that I've learned about you and what you do for your audience. So thank you for having me.
Oh, you are so welcome. And, we just let the spirit flow, right? Let it move. Yes. So we look forward to hearing your story, Jackie, and how you face your fears to love the skin you're in and pivot into pursuing your passion and soul purpose, which I'm slightly envious of. In our podcast, we keep it simple. We only ask you two questions. One, how have you defined your path? And how do you help others define theirs? And then we'll just flow between those two questions. And wherever the energy, the universe takes us, that's where we'll go. So, Jackie, The spotlight is yours, sis.
Awesome. Well, thank you. And defining my path, it's funny, when I first read the question, I was like, how did I define my path? And we don't always know how it happened until you get there. Then you look back and you're like, oh, that's how I got where I'm at, right?
Yeah.
And it all, I want to say it all started when I was, young, and I got into this whole leadership management thing okay, ready? Those of you from Jersey, the little Italian bakeries in Jersey, they give you the keys at 15 and say, run the show. And they let you run it. That's not legal nowadays, but that's got the blood going of this mentorship and coaching people, because I was managing people at 15, 16 in this bakery. And I just love the leadership role of being able to help people develop and grow. Well, I did the whole what you're supposed to do. I went to college, I got my degree, got my teaching degree. And that led me in this. I tried to teach for a year and realized, you talked about boxes. Mm-hmm. That was a box for me. And I knew immediately I didn't want to be in. Mm-hmm. Right. You know, that feeling. And that led into me going into more of the restaurant industry. And then 30 years later, after 30 years of leadership management in the restaurant industry, I just discovered this path of mine of being able to, like you said, see what people can't see and help them get to levels. I had promoted 300 people in that industry into higher levels, making more money, having more freedom for their family, changing the legacy of their family lineage, you know? But that is hard work. The restaurant industry is lots of hours. I mean, if you've been in it before, and those of you who can relate, it's long hours, long days, and all of that. And that's another box. I was like, I want more freedom than this, right? Yeah. I was like, let me add like an animal in a cage, but I got a little more freedom with each promotion, and I was able to do a little more. And then the hours got longer. And then I just was like, I'm lacking how much money I can make too. Hold on a second. They're telling me I can make this, and that's it.
Yes.
And I was like,
That's the problem.
Yeah. We're limited in how much freedom. And so I realized more and more throughout my journey, and I traveled the country during this process with restaurant business. And I was like, oh, I want to be able to do this all the time, not just when they tell me I can. Mm-hmm. And I want to be able to make whatever money I can make, not just what they tell me. But I got to tell you, like, I don't know about you, but it's scary taking the leap, right? Yeah. Taking the leap into entrepreneurship and betting on yourself. And you know what forced me into it? This really defined my path. My last job, I got fired from my job. And that was like the best day of my life.
Yeah.
Not in the moment. It was really kind of like a oh no moment.
Right.
But also like you felt like the box was open. Mm-hmm. And I love that you call it no boxes. Like, you know, think out of the box, because I try to help people think beyond what the realm of what we should and what's normal, and what the everyday, like, go get a good job, get benefits, get all that stuff.
Yeah.
And at that point, I had to make a decision. Like, do I want to continue? I could easily go back and get into the industry and get another job, or do I want to bet on myself? And I had just experienced this whole coaching world. Mm-hmm. I don't know about you. I'm 50 this year. I had no idea what coaching was. Like, I lived 3 years ago. I was like soccer coach, football coach. And someone told me, like, no, coaching's what you've been doing for 30 years. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
And right. And I was like, they're like, what if you could take all the skills and talents that you have, but have no boss, no parameters, no, like, and I was like, that sounds magical. Please tell me more. Right. And so I started life coaching schooling, and that's like 2 months before I got fired. So I had this like, possibility. I saw the possibility of what was possible. And that just catapulted me into my path, into building my own business and doing the same for others now, and helping them create the freedom that they don't think that they could attain because of wherever they're at. Time freedom, money freedom, body love freedom, food freedom, love freedom, like all those freedoms that keeps us held back from really living the life that we love. So that's what kickstarted me into where I am today.
I tell you, juicy. I mean, that was so juicy. And I love how you delivered it, you know, because oftentimes, like, when we run into that life event or that situation that, you know, could be extremely traumatic or whatever, you know, whatever it's couched in, you know, instead of, I mean, you made lemonade, gourmet lemonade, as I like to say, out of lemons, you know, when you could have just, you know, given up, threw your hands up, or decided to go back to another environment that would have, that would place those limitations and that whole hierarchical construct that, you know, societies are built upon. But, you know, so many people can't get to that place or know enough about history to understand that societies were built on entrepreneurs, you know, on entrepreneurship. And then these, you know, corporations and what have you started to grow up and form. So, you know, when people say, oh, I don't know how to get started with this or that, I love what you said, you know, what someone, you know, advised you of, that you had been doing it for 30 years. Because, you know, I say that all the time. We've been in beta all of our lives. You know, when we finally figure out that passion, you know, and it's our sole purpose. It's our soul has been speaking to us, you know, for all this time. Now, you might not go directly into the same thing you're doing, but it's connected. Talk about that a little bit more.
Well, there's one story that just popped up that I want to tell you that was a pivotal point that made me decide to bet on myself. And it's about permission. And I was going through the interview process, doing what like a normal fired person would do, is jump back in and apply and look for a good job. And I said, well, someday I'll build my business, but I'm going through the schooling now. I can just get a job first, the safe thing to do. Yes. So I did what the normal brain would do, the safe brain, right? The safe reaction. And I got on an interview with a guy who used to work with me 2 companies previous, and I didn't realize he was the interviewer. And I get on the call, and his name is Mike, same as my boyfriend, which is hilarious. And I'm like, oh, Mike. And he's like, oh, it's Jackie. I know you. We don't need to interview. I'd hire you in a heartbeat. So don't worry about it. I'm like, okay, cool. And he's like, so what are you doing with your life right now? And I was like, what are you asking me that question for? I'm like, I'm looking for a job, right? He's like, what do you want to do with your life? I was like, so like, this is the universal, like, hello.
Yeah.
He said, what do you want to do what do you want to do? And I said, well, let me tell you, I just started this coaching schooling, and I was so excited. I got some time to learn. I was like, but I really want to build my own business. And I started telling him all about the possibility of what I've been learning and what I want to do. And he goes, great. He goes, how much money do you have? I was like, why are you asking my financials?
Right.
He goes, he was basically asking me, like, what do I have to support myself? And he goes, well, how long could you live on it? And I calculated, and I was like, well, I'm going to sell my house. I'm going to cut my expenses so I can build my business. I did all these, like, I mapped out like how I was going to make this work. He's like, great. He goes, I'm not hiring you.
Oh, wow.
He pulled back his offer, and he said, you go try this. He goes, and if it doesn't work out, I'll have a job for you guaranteed. You come back to me. Wow. And it was like, it was God's way of giving me permission, because I wasn't going to give it to myself right away.
Right.
Because of whatever old stories I was telling myself at the time. And that was like, thank you. And to this day, like, I owe him that pivot of like, okay, I can do this. And I can give myself permission to go bet on me versus doing what I'm supposed to be doing.
Oh my God.
And so,
yeah,
that always, there's going to be those moments, but here's the key kicker. You have to be open to hear it and receive it.
Yes.
And I was at that moment. It was my time. It was 30 years. And I'm like, it's time to move on.
Oh my goodness. That was a divine intervention if I've ever heard one before in my life.
Right? Like this company, I had no idea he even worked for them. And then all of a sudden he gets on the phone with me, and then he asks me these weird questions, and I'm like, why are you asking me this? And then it was like, smack, like wake up, Jackie.
Right. It's like, clearly I've led you, you started listening to your intuition and following that spirit direction to go to the coaching courses and what have you. But you were going to talk yourself out of pursuing your soul purpose because of that conditioning. We talk about it all the time on this show, social cultural conditioning, the programming, our life, our societies, our education system, everything is set up to put us on these paths. And from there, we shall not depart, right? Until life happens. And then what do you do?
Right.
How do you pivot? Yeah. Oh my gosh. Brilliant. So how are you, again, I'm envious about this lifestyle you have going on. How are you just running your business from an RV? As I understand it, you're in South Dakota right now. How do you make this happen? And how do you connect with your clients? And then how do you work with them to help them define their paths?
Well, you pray to the internet gods every day. You legitimately go, please work today. And energetically it works. But, we were living in Virginia on the East Coast, and his kids had all gotten to an age where they finally were kind of getting all out on their own. And we looked at each other, and I was like, well, I just created this business because I had created the business before we went full-time. We're 1 year full-time RV living. And I created this mobile business, and we looked at each other like we both wanted to get out. And it was during COVID, and we're like, well, how can we travel and experience life and make a change? And we started watching RV America. Don't watch that show if you don't want an RV, because you will get an RV. And we started watching that, and that's what kind of sucked us in. And so running the business in the RV is really, it is freeing every day. Like every day I wake up and I have a different, not every day, but I can choose to have a different atmosphere every day. Like if we want to take it to a mountain. I did a live off of the Badlands, the Badlands in South Dakota, which is it looks like a Grand Canyon almost. I get to do things at the beach in front of a mountain and wherever. And yes, it's internet, depending on the internet, but outside of that, it's just so freeing to be able to just kind of, where do I want to go? What do I want to do?
Yes.
And how do I want to do it? And my saying is I always wanted to be able to do what I want, wherever I want, whenever I want, without having to ask for permission from anyone, including myself. because we're the ones who stop ourselves the most, right?
Yes. Yes. Oh my gosh, girl. I feel you. It was like you just jumped in my my soul and just pulled all of that out. Absolutely. And I think ultimately, most of us want that, right? But it's just a matter of finding that in ourselves, to embrace that fear of change, which allows us to grow, embracing it and really making it our ally. I mean, how do you help your clients do that? Because, as I shared in your bio, they're already making money. They're already successful. There's a false sense of security, honestly. And if COVID has showed us anything, it showed us that. There's a false sense of security. This whole thought, oh, well, I'm making a nice wage, but what people don't understand is that you're making a wage. And when like inflation happens, like now, you can't make a profit. So talk about how you help people change that mind, that perspective, that mindset. Particularly, I'm sure you're working with type A's, right?
Yeah, the hyper-driven women. Yeah.
Yep.
And when I say that, like, hyper-driven women, it doesn't necessarily mean like the quantity of money someone has. Hyper-driven women could be the woman who just raised all her kids for 18 years and she was like on point and she, gave back to the community and she's just driven to make a life for her and her family and stuff like that. Okay. And I used to think it was just going to be entrepreneurs I worked with, but I work with anyone who has an entrepreneurial spirit. Yes. So I have quite a few clients who are employed with whether it's the government, the military, long-term employment, project managers, and successful in their own right in their jobs. And they desire, so they're building like other sources of income right now, whether it's real estate portfolios, whether it's franchises, whether it's one's creating an app. And they're doing these other things that now I've got a couple who are close to retirement and they're like, Jackie, because of you, I don't want to wait to retirement. Like I want to dip out now. And I'm like, I'm not telling you to do that. I'm like, because they'll lose like certain benefits, but that's the golden handcuffs, right? That we think are so secure. And yet when you see the possibility of what you can create and what that creates, what kind of freedom you can have with the choices and the possibilities that we have outside of the norm, outside of the box, like you say, it's powerful. And so how I do that is I really help women get back to themselves, because when you get back to that inner, and I say this, we are so powerful. We don't even know, like we have no idea. Like, I don't even know fully like how powerful what's inside of me. Like the goddess inside of me is like, she's coming out to play more and more every day.
Yeah.
But there's so much in there that it scares the heck out of us. Right. And so that's the first step, is really helping women get back to getting closer and closer and closer and loving and owning and like I say, awakening her. Yes. And then empowering all pieces of her and then owning her out in the world, in the public, and whatever she's doing. And that's making yourself a priority. Number one, you have to be the first in your choices. And it's not selfish, it's selfless, so that everyone get that best version of you. Yeah. And usually when that happens, I laugh because I'm not titled a relationship coach, but I can't tell you how many marriages I've saved, how many relationships with children, how many, because communication and boundaries and the power of the strength of the kids seeing their mother standing in their strength and what that does to the relationship. And so when they do the inner work, and I call it the 80% between these two ears, 20% strategy, 80% between these two ears, when they get that, that's where the magic begins, because they recognize their own magic. Absolutely. And until you recognize your own magic and your gifts, like it's hard. And then it gets to be easy. When you get into the magic and gifts, it gets to be fun.
And that's what we call, I just authored a chapter in this book called Inspired Living. And I talk about just following your flow in that, tapping into that power, that conscious intuition, bringing the intuition forward, because, it's back here and it's talking to us and it's telling us how powerful we are, and we fear it. And we allow ourselves to assign ourselves to that less than role, right? When truly it's calling us forth to be more than. And it's truly, you know, people like yourselves who learn to think without a box. I mean, you literally abandon the box, you know, to understand, you know, because we don't process. The box was meant to keep us in, out, or hovering about it. But it was meant for us to keep it in sight and to always come back to that box. And that's why we keep going back. You know, you get rid of the box, you tap into that inner strength, that wisdom, that divine that's flowing, you know, and calling from your soul. And you just strike out. You know, what's the worst you can do? Fall down, get back up. I don't believe in the word fail. And I can tell you don't, Jersey girl.
No. Like I think of a kid, right? Like when a kid's walking and they fall down, do we like, oh my God, you're such a failure? No. We pick them back up. Yes. We like let them keep going, and that's how we have to treat ourselves. Absolutely. You know, and embrace that. Like, okay, what did I learn, and what's next, and rewiring that thinking that is holding us back. There was something that you said, and it's going to come back to me.
Yeah, no worries.
Sometimes squirrel.
Well, hey, I'll keep the childlike conversation going, because, you know, I talk about that as well. You know, when we were children, before we started taking hold of all this programming, you know, we would naturally tap into, I mean, that intuition was constantly conscious, you know, and we didn't fear life. We didn't fear others. You know, we loved the little skin that we were in, right? And we were doing life. You know, we had big dreams and we could do and be whatever we wanted to be. And then life just started beating us down. You know, I liken life a lot to just the boxing ring of life. And how, you know, oftentimes we get knocked out and we're just stay on the mat. We're out for the count, you know, and it truly comes down to that inner fortitude, I think, that you help your clients tap into, and, you know, to get up off the mat, you know, and I like to call it my communities, we're corner women, you know, and for the men who are in my community, we're corner women, corner men, you know, we're there. We're cheerleaders for each other. We're training, we're coaching. And that's the thing that we don't do enough of, Jackie. And I think that's exactly what you were talking about. Women are being called higher to usher in, you know, particularly with this Mother Earth energy beginning of this year that rolled in here. Women are starting to step into their boldness. And I love to one of my mantras is strong is the new sexy. So what do you think about those thoughts?
Yes. Oh, I love that. And I remember what I was going to say. It's what happens throughout life when all that stuff happens that you were just talking about is we start to not hear that intuition. Like it gets too noisy. There's too many other things that like people are telling us we should be, or that we're hearing, or we're thinking, or we're this and that. And it took me a long time. I had to learn how to be independent real quick. Like my mom died when I was 5. My dad was running a company. So like 7, I was doing laundry and dishes and learning how to like, and I was the baby of a bunch of kids, but they were all kind of older already. So I really managed myself from 7 on and learning how to, like figure it out without having to have anybody to ask like how to do it. And what happened over time, I was very confident and I did a lot of like successful things in my past. But what happened was that I would keep myself so busy so I didn't have to deal with my own emotions, my own pain, all of the downs and ups and stuff like that. And what I learned these past 3 years during this journey with myself is that I was avoiding being quiet with myself. So I really couldn't hear the intuition. Yeah. And I learned how to get quiet. I learned how to and that's where the strength is. I learned how to be vulnerable. Yeah. I learned how to like ask for help. I learned how to get support. I learned how to work with other people, not think I was in this thing alone. I thought I was in this journey alone, even though I know now that God was always by my side. But yes. I didn't really let other people. Let me put it this way. I was a recovering I got it girl. Yeah. Like I'm a recovering I got it girl. Like my whole life, it's like I got it. Right. It's like these. I want to my book. When I do open my book, it's like the Confessions of the I got it girl, the recovering I got it girl, because it's so we're so we think strength is taking it all on by ourselves.
Yes.
And in reality, strength is in the community. Strength is in listening to the support we have from our higher power. Strength is being vulnerable. Strength's in the duality. Strength's in the downs, so that you can feel the ups, and really, really appreciate. And like, so strength is so opposite than what I ever thought it was.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
Oh, it makes perfect sense, girl. You are speaking, okay? Look, I thought you were going to go in and start preaching on me.
Oh my gosh, channeling is a funny thing. All of a sudden, I'm like, what did I just say?
No, you're absolutely correct. You know, we often run from vulnerability. And that's, that's where our superpower is in our own personal story, our experiences, because that's where, the true you emerges, or as people like to say, the authentic self. So no, you were a girl on point, and like you were just like all in my spirit. I'm trying to stay in my seat over here.
I feel it totally. I knew I was going to love this interview.
Yes, absolutely. And I know our audience is loving it. Oh my gosh. And I'm looking at the clock and I'm like, no, slow down. We're definitely going to have you back and check in where you are in this RV trip.
Yes, please do. And it's so much fun.
Yes, absolutely. But I want to give you the opportunity to leave the audience with, any last words of wisdom, advice, thoughts about just this entrepreneurial path, and just choosing you being them, and going for it.
Yeah. I love to say, don't stop waiting to let your freedom vision turn into the reality that you deserve and desire, because we all have it in us. We hauled it back and it's too scary. We think it's too late. We don't think we're good enough, like all these other things. And in reality, like it gets to, and it doesn't have to look like, by the way, you don't have to jump into an RV to have freedom. Like that's not the only version of freedom. For those of you who are scared about I don't want to do what she does. A lot of people say they want to do it, but they really don't. And so that's something I'm huge about. And I know you are too. It's, you got to be authentically like connected to your way. Yeah. There's so much noise out there of what the right way is. Mm-hmm. I will help you stay aligned with your way. And it has to be you, true, authentic to you, whatever's meant for you next. But don't wait. Stop waiting, because it's never too late. Never too late.
Never too late. Never too late to redefine your path, as I like to say. Jackie, girl, thank you for being our spotlight today.
And I'm laughing because the sun is really making me spotlight, because I do everything outdoors because I'm an RV lover. And I'm laughing. The sun's like, spotlight her. Well, great. Thanks, hon.
Hey, that's confirmation, right? Audience,
welcome to my life.
Hey, I love it. Audience, be sure to follow Jackie Cote on social media. Jackie, please tell the audience how to connect with you.
Definitely. So, of course, I have my website at JackieCoteCoaching.com, but I will tell you that my Facebook personal page is a digital diary of my entire, everyday life. Mm-hmm. And I joke around that I could turn peanut butter and jelly sandwich into, an inspirational moment. Mm-hmm. So, come on there. You'll see my travels. You'll hear about what I'm doing in the business. You'll meet my dogs. You'll meet Mike. That's I'm full out on there. So if you really get to know me personally, that's where you can find me, and my website.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jackie. Folks, you'll also be able to connect with her from our Define Your Path podcast platform. Be sure to follow Jackie, connect with her, and because she is truly loving the skin she's in. And I love it for you, girl. Folks,
yeah, I love that was the name of your book, by the way.
Hey, a divine download. How to Conquer Life Through Divergent Thinking was that sub-thought. So we'll have to have you back and talk about that some more. Folks, be sure to visit our virtual home to see what we're up to at definingpaths.online. We're up to great things, changing lives, helping to heal, rebuild, and transform your life and business from the inside out. So I am DocV, the Pivot Maestro, and always your corner woman. Be true to you, folks, and define your path. We'll see you on our next episode. Yes. Thanks for listening.
You've been listening to Define Your Path with DocV. To learn how to see with true vision and define your path, visit definingpaths.online/true-vision.